Hi you guys, welcome to my little paintbrush. My name is Miss Cami. Today we're going to celebrate Shark Week with a really fun shark. So I'm glad you're here to paint with me. Remember that if I'm going too fast for you, you can pause this video. You can also rewind it. No big deal, you don't have to keep up with my pace. Also, if you want to make any changes to this painting, feel free to do that. It's yours, make it your own, okay? And have a good time. If you are one of our younger artists joining us today, any outline that I do with this painting, you can skip. That is a little bit tricky for our little artist. If you want to give it a try, go for it. I encourage you to. But if it's a little too difficult, it's not a big deal. You can skip the outlines. Okay, let's grab a nice size flat and get started. I'm going to swish my brush around in some water real quick. And here's our fun palette for today. I'm going to start with my background. So I'm going to nice scoop of white, mix it with my yellow, lighten it up quite a bit. This is going to be our sunny day happening behind our shark. Once I get that nice and mixed, I will just start to fill it in. I am not painting on a canvas today. This is a multimedia paper, so I don't have edges to wrap. But if you're painting on a wrapped canvas, feel free to wrap your edges. I encourage you to do that so that you have a nice completed painting when we're all finished. And we're just going to gently, as best we can, go around our shark without getting any paint inside of it yet. That may be a little bit tricky, especially with this big flat brush, but we're going to do our best to do that. And you're welcome to switch brushes for some of these really tiny sections that you may just feel a little bit too much pressure to get in between. That's not a big deal. You can switch brushes. You can also go from the flat to the toe like this and curve around those spots as well. Okay. If you are working with our paint kit, you already have this shark traced on a canvas for you, so that's really nice. If you are not, you can follow some links below to get the pattern, or you can just freehand it on here. If you are feeling super confident, go for it. I love it. No need to not freehand if you're feeling it. So we've got this ocean wave happening right now. Notice the toe of my brush. I switched to that part to get into those little tiny areas, okay? So really fun. Before I wash out though, I'm going to scoop up some white on a corner of my brush, and I'm going to lighten some of the area around my shark. Just kind of indicate maybe some movement happening. And helping our background not feel so flat as well. If we just stuck with one value, one tone, it would look a bit flat, but by adding this bit of white, we kind of help that problem of not being so flat. Fabulous. Let's go ahead and wash out our brush. Get that yellow out of it, and let's go to some turquoise and put in that wave. I'm going to scoop up some white, lighten some of my turquoise. I'm going to leave some of it dark though for some shadowing. Lighten it up and then come in here, and this just beautiful contrast that we have going on between our warm background and our nice cool wave. Love it. Love these two colors together. Again, if you are nervous using this big brush for these little sections, you can switch, no big deal. Before I wash that out, I'm going to add the darker turquoise, and I'm going to put some dark turquoise in, but specifically in this crease right here. If you can't see it, you may have to wipe some of your light turquoise off. There might be too much paint on your brush. We're just going to darken that little section right there, just slightly, not a ton, just a little shadowy indicator here. I want to smooth out that wave. There we go. Fabulous. Okay, let's wash out. And I'm actually going to switch to a smaller flat. So if you are one of our younger artists, again, you maybe have been using a small flat the whole time. So just stick to that. I like to fill my background in with a really big brush. But now I'm going to switch to a smaller one, and I'm going to pull my paper as tight as I can. If you're using paper tonight, you'll want to do the same thing. Just pull it tight, try and get some of the ripples out of it. Okay, I'm going to get that brush wet, and I'm going to start to fill in my shark. So I'm going to make a darker blue, but I want it to be a little lighter than this. So I'm going to mix some white with it. Not too much though, but enough that it gives me good coverage. Otherwise, I'm going to have to put lots of layers on here. Okay, so once I have that color in that I like, I'm going to start to fill in my shark. Now the belly of my shark is going to be a different shade of blue. So I'm going to leave that. But if I get some of my darker blue into that, it's going to be okay because they're both blue. But we're just going to fill it in. Remember that your paint gets thirsty, so anytime it starts to, your brush stroke starts to break, or you feel like you're painting with really thick, sticky paint, you'll want to switch to your water. Loosen up your paint by mixing water into your paint, and then go back to creating your piece. Again, I am comfortable filling this whole shark in with this brush. You might come across different sections of your shark that you're not as comfortable with using a bigger flat brush. Maybe you even want to use a round brush for a nice point. Go ahead and do that. Don't feel like you have to stick to the flat brush like I am. Sometimes it takes some time and experience to get to the point that we are comfortable with a larger brush all the time. As you paint more and more, you'll find that you can actually get quite small spaces with a big flat brush. And you'll find that you don't have to switch your brush very often, which I like. I don't like to use a whole lot of tools when I create. I'm a simple person, and so I like to just use limited amount. Want to get this point here because that's pretty iconic for a shark, so I want that nice and pointy. Okay, and then we're going to come up here. Now I'm going to be outlining my shark So my edges, if they're not super clean, it's okay. If you are opting out of outlining your shark, you will want to really focus on a much cleaner edge. So that just depends on what you decide to do with the lines. If you are outlining, then don't spend too much time stressed about everything being perfectly squared off, because we can go through and clean that up when we outline. Okay, the last bit that's this dark blue is over here. I'm gonna fill that in and then create that line as best I can where the belly or under the shark begins. Okay, now we don't even have to wash our brush. We can just make a lighter blue now that dark blue is in. So I'm just going to pull a bunch more white over and make a nice light blue. I want to have a good contrast between the dark blue that I just did. So I'm going to make sure that you can really see the difference between the two. Make sure it's nice and light. Okay, and then I'm going to start to fill it in. Get some water. I can tell my paint is getting a little bit sticky, so I'm just going to get some water on there, and it immediately changes the flow of the paint, so that's super nice. Again, I'm going to be outlining, so I'm not going to worry too much about perfect clean lines. I'm just going to do the best that I can. This big toothy grin happening. All those sharp teeth that our sharks are so known for. This big smile. This is a happy shark for sure. The mouth will also be outlined, so again, you know, if you know there's a step coming that can eliminate some stress for you, then you can spend less time worried about everything being perfect right now, knowing that there's going to be a time for you to be able to clean it up. Okay, coming down here. Typically I would flip my canvas around to get this spot, but I'm kind of all taped up here to my easel, so I can't do that, but you are not, so you can flip your canvas to get those lower places that might be a little bit more difficult to reach upright. Okay, fabulous. We've got all of that put in already, so let's go ahead and rinse out our brush. The shark is coming along. Let's make sure there's no blue in our brush because we're going to go to red next, and if we have blue, we're going to have purple. So make sure it's nice and clean, and then we're going to go into our red paint, and we're going to paint the inside of our shark's mouth. Now I do want to be careful around all my teeth because I don't want to paint the teeth. My canvas is white, my surface is white. I want to avoid that if I can, and I can totally just not paint it if I just am nice and careful. And a nice flat brush will be your friend with this because it is squared off, so you can kind of go through like this and just fill those in. No problem, just like that. Now, if you had a drip into your teeth, or you got some blue or some red in your teeth, don't panic. You can go through with white paint and you can fix it. You can touch it up. So it's not a terrible, terrible thing if that happens. I, for one, am just going to try my very best to avoid painting in each one of these big teeth. And if I can avoid it, I'm going to go ahead and go for it. It's just like painting around a bunch of triangles. Really use the shape of your brush to your advantage. This is a step that typically people might say, oh, I want to use my little detail brush for. But look how that flat-headed brush was able to just fill those teeth in without a ton of effort. So the shape of your brush really makes a difference for you. So play on that and use that to your advantage, okay? Okay, let's give the shark a little bit more personality. I am going to go ahead and get the bottom of my big flat that I used for my background. So you can go ahead and use any big brush you have at your station. I'm going to dip the bottom of it in black paint. Get a nice big drop at the bottom of my brush. Okay, nice big drop. And I'm going to come and swirl in my eyes. I have one right here, so I'm just going to swirl my brush around. It gives me a nice circle without a lot of effort. You can make these as big as you want. My other eye is going to be right above this fin, or line up with it pretty much. Swirl it around. We want to put these in so they can start to dry, so that we can do the cute little highlights on them. And while those are drying, we're going to get a detail brush. This is the smallest brush that you have around, and we are going to begin our outlining. So I'm going to get my brush wet. I'm going to get it in my black paint, loosen up my paint as much as I can. That will help me as I'm doing my lines. Get it nice and loose, okay, without making it super watery. And let's start over here. Oops, I got my palm in there. And we're just going to start to outline our shark. This is where we're going to clean up our edges. Okay. Again, I can't stress it enough. If you are one of our little artists painting, lines can be pretty challenging. Trying to get these teeny tiny lines on a painting can be really, really difficult. So if that is the case for you, you can skip this part and your painting will still be fabulous. But if you want to give it a go, I have seen young artists do really incredible line work. So it is possible, right? And it will come easier with time. Just remember that the pressure you put on your brush is really, really important. If you push really, really hard on your brush, you're going to get a really thick line. If you apply light pressure to your brush, you're going to get a thin line. So the pressure that you apply on your brush is really important, and you can practice that just on a piece of paper. You can practice doing lines. And figure out how to get that pressure. Because once you understand that, you'll be able to do pretty much any line. So that line goes straight through our shark like that, and the fin is behind it. Okay, this is when you can really get those points that you want, those sharp points at the end of your fin. This particular one is going to come in a little bit, so we're going to pull that line into the shark. See that? We started inside and pull it out, and then it curves in like that and comes to a point. Okay, so you can start to see our shark is coming together. These lines will help you be able to see that. Just about done here with these lines, and then we'll do some highlights to kind of wake up our shark a little bit. There. We gotta come all the way down. This is another one of those times that I would probably flip my canvas upside down to get these lines underneath the shark. So feel free to do that if you're having a hard time getting that all in. All right, now let's work on this big toothy grin that we have going on here. It's really fun, big smile. Try not to put my palm in my eye over here. That's all wet. Okay, so we've got that, and then we're going to try and pull this down as best we can right through here, cleaning up our lines. Come down on this side. Curving it around. All right, lots of lines, I know. That's why I said you can eliminate some of them too. Do some, but not all of them. Whatever you choose. We're gonna put little smiley face marks on the edge of both of our big smile. I like to give that little indication there. Cute. Okay, let's wash out our detail brush and let's grab our medium flat. And what I want to do is I just want to get it damp with some water. I don't want it drippy. I just want it to be nice and damp. And I'm going to put some white on half of it like this, and I'm going to start to highlight. Okay, and as I do this, you are going to see your shark just start to brighten up considerably. That's the great thing about doing these highlights, is we just brighten up our shark. Come in here. And then down this side. You can see it just gives us some bright happiness happening. Do this little fin right here. Awesome. Okay, let's switch back to our detail. I forgot a couple of important lines, and I put some black on there again. Right here, we're gonna do a few little lines across here. 1, and then 2, and then 3. Okay, just like that. Then we'll rinse that out. And now we're gonna get some white on our detail brush for a few little sections that we wanna highlight a little bit smaller, okay? So I got some white on there, and I'm gonna highlight tops of my little smile. I'm gonna come down to where we would have a chin and do a little there. I'm actually gonna dip in some blue. I got some red right there. So I'm gonna try and touch that up. There we go. It happens, guys. It happens. Sometimes we get paint where we don't want to get paint. Okay, back to my white. I'm gonna come do some highlights right here. Remember, that's still kind of wet, so be careful. I'm gonna do some, I like to call these my ripple lines. My shark is coming out, there's movement happening, so we're gonna create some of that movement with these thicker. We did it with some white on our brush earlier, but not as prominent and thick as this. So we're gonna kind of add a little bit there. Fabulous, guys. Let's do the highlight in the eyes. We're gonna use the bottom of our brush. I'm gonna dip it in some white paint. And I'm gonna do 2. I'm gonna do a big one followed by just a tiny dot. I like to do 2. I think it's super fun. So big one below, little dot above. And that's it, you guys. You painted a shark. I hope you love it. Let's sign our name. We should be proud of our work, so let's sign it and own it. You can sign it wherever you want. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you love your shark. I would love to see it. Tag us on social media at My Little Paintbrush. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our paint along tutorials. Thanks, you guys. See you next time.